From a series I binged, devoured, read one after the other, and could not put down, to one that, well, just didn't live up to the promises that it made. Let's talk about what I've been reading. Hi everyone, my name is Kayla and welcome back to Kay's Hidden Shelf, where we talk about books. Today is another reading update, and from the last reading update, I ended up devouring the Sworn Soldier series by T. Kingfisher. Previously, I had started with What Moves the Dead, and I was just hooked. The tension, the suspense, the pacing of it all was just perfect for me, and it's soft horror, so it ended up working really well for myself, being a little bit of a chicken, but still enjoying horror elements in my stories. I think because T. Kingfisher also blends a lot of heart and humor and character work into her stories here, it just all combined into a perfect setting, a perfect tone, and just the right level of horror for me. So I dove right into book 2. I thoroughly enjoyed the pacing, the tension, but I think another reason why I really enjoyed this was the cast as well, primarily with the main little group that we get. There's the main character, Alex Easton, who is a retired soldier and is followed around by Angus, I believe is his name, who is a gruff, old sort of mentor character who's been serving Alex's family for, well, is pretty much their entire lives. But part of that charm of their relationship is Angus has a bit of mystery around him. He has that gruff mentor type of behavior, but he also served in the war with Alex, so there's quite a deeper dynamic to their relationship that I really appreciate. And we do get to see them throughout the series. I think why book 2 worked better for me out of the entire series than the other 2 books was because of its setting, its style of horror and mystery in this case, as book 1 leaned more into body horror. This one leaned more into folktales, lore, and superstitions, which the level of horror, the level of stakes that are raised because of that was far more gripping and captivating for me. There's also a great exploration of PTSD. We are following a retired soldier, and due to all of everything that is going on, we're kind of seeing this character in the most extreme moments of their life, or at least unforeseen extreme moments of their life of danger and threat, and the unknowns that come along with it, and the reactions that happen as a result of their previous experiences having been through war. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The story in this one follows Alex Easton as they return back to their family log cabin out in their hometown of Galatia. Now, they've had a keeper at this home who's been tending to the property for quite some time, and it's the type of town that is small, gruff, everyone knows everyone, and everyone knows everyone's business. And when they arrive to the cabin, well, unfortunately, the keeper is nowhere to be found, and they find out that they passed away, and there's a lot of whispering amongst the villagers in this town about their cabin. And so from this point, they are staying at the cabin, they fix it up, and more oddities seem to happen one after another, and it just leads into those high stakes. We get some gruff characters that come along that you just you kind of hate, but you love them at the same time. You can empathize with them at the same time, and just a dynamic cast of characters that brings it all together. So yeah, for me, book 2 was my favorite out of the 3. It just had the spot on pacing with the suspense, the tension continuously building, the high stakes just getting higher and higher. And on top of that, it doesn't sacrifice the characters' work, the characters' arcs as a result of the suspense and the tension happening. We don't see that loss in the character work just for the sake of the plot, and I really appreciated that. Plus, we get a charming cast of characters that you just can't help but love the more you read about them. And that leads us into book 3, with book 2 being my favorite. Could book 3 do any better? And it started off really strong, and it was leading into that. Now, book 3 is What Stalks the Deep, and I was so ready. I was so ready to dive in. I was so excited that not only did this release on September 30th of this year, so a week thereabouts before I started reading it, but I was pumped after book 2. And that may have been my downfall. I'm not sure. but we're going to talk about it. So in this installment within the series, Alex Easton receives a letter from a friend that they had actually made in book 1, What Moves the Dead, and that is Dr. Denton. And due to their previous experience solving whatever it was in book 1, they call upon Alex to travel to America to help them with a bit of a problem they've run into. They own a coal mine and something's just not right. And for me, this one was doing really well in terms of pacing, the mystery, the creepiness, the horror elements that were building on this, and then seeing Alex outside of their element and traveling to a different part of the world, one that is basically more or less the frontier version of the United States of America. And so because of that, I was really enjoying it, but I think where it lost me a little bit was where it did a bit of a too early reveal. Not to say that the reveal wasn't surprising and altogether satisfying in a way, but it was just a bit too early for me. So the tension built, reveal, and then everything kind of just went down in terms of pacing for me there. Keeping in mind that this is also a series of books that will be different for everyone. Everyone's going to have a different favorite. This might work really well for you. For me, the reveal came a little bit too early and pieces started to fall into place a bit too quick and easy for me as a result after the fact. But overall, I do still think it is a solid entry into the series. I think the mystery, those horror elements of suspense, because we're dealing with a coal mine in this one, there's a different level of horror, and I could definitely feel the claustrophobia as I was reading. So keep that in mind too if you are not one for being near or even just hearing or reading about small spaces. If you like that kind of thing, definitely check out book 3 in the series. But yeah, it continues with Alex's story and just the oddities that they encounter in the world, the mysteries and the stakes that are involved. And they are searching for a person who went missing in the coal mine that is a cousin of Dr. Denton, so a family member who is loved, and they are just trying to solve this mystery in a frontier world. And you get some really intimate moments with the characters as well, which I really appreciated. So you do get some depth with the characters. You do get that heart and exploration with them, as well as all of the mystery, the horror, and just the pure panic that you feel from time to time with reading this series. So I highly recommend this series. I think it is fantastic. I also want to mention that I didn't know what to expect when I went into the series. I honestly thought I was going to DNF book 1 because it would be too intense for me. The horror would be too much, or the characters would it would be too plot driven and flat characters. I honestly didn't know what to expect going in, and I ended up loving it. I ended up binging the series and overall had an amazing time with reading them. So yeah, I just want to put that out there because my expectations were completely not what I was expecting by the end. This ended up being a binge-worthy series where I thought I was not going to get past the first half of book 1. So yeah, that was a nice surprise. After that, I wanted to keep up with some spooky reading as I was just in a groove. And so I decided to pick up Murder at Spindle Manor by Morgan Stang. Now, this one won the SPFBO award some time ago. I'll put it on the screen. And it had a lot of hype around it during that time. I did put it on my TBR, but I gave it some time and space because for me, giving space to a book that has quite a bit of hype around it actually gives me a better reading experience as a result, as usually I've been largely disappointed by books that have hype around them when I read them immediately during the hype phase. So I gave myself some time and I figured it would be the perfect timing to pick it up, being I'm just finishing T. Kingfisher's Sworn Soldier series, still in that spooky mood and reading vibe, but wanting a little mystery in there as well. It sounded like it would be the perfect fit. For me, the premise, the mysteries, the style of characters sounded really interesting. We have a monster hunter in this really reminded me of the 1985, I believe it is, Clue movie blended with the 2004 Van Helsing and Sherlock Holmes, all together in a steampunk gas lamp fantasy. It sounded promising, and I think where it lost me was its plot direction and just the execution of it all. The plot that we originally start with is trying to track down a shape-shifting monster who is stopped at the manor with a crew of 10 other characters, I believe, 10 or 9 other characters, all traveling to the big city. And obviously they're a shapeshifter. They are pretending to be the person that they have taken the form of. And so the hunter's job is to figure out which of these guests at the manor is the hunter before they make it to the city and lose them completely. And upon trying to do this investigation, a murder takes place, and now we have another mystery to solve in amongst the monster hunting. Now, this does blend in soft horror as well as some epic fantasy feel with the world lore and godlike beings as well. Really, this felt like it wanted to be an epic fantasy and explore a larger world while giving us just a snippet of one character dealing with two multiple mysteries, because while there are 2 main mysteries that are happening between that monster hunting and the murder mystery, there ends up being multiple side quests as the story goes on. More mysteries, more elements, more aspects, and it just, for me, that's where it lost me. In terms of its execution, I felt like it was just focusing too much on side quests and dallying a little bit with things that didn't really need to be there. They did end up weaving it together, but it felt like a flimsy weave into the main mysteries for me, and I kept finding myself wanting to get back to the point as I was reading through. Not to say that those elements weren't interesting, they just didn't relate well enough for me. They weren't executed well enough to make me care, and that made it a little bit harder for me reading through. But the execution of it all just was not there for me. I do think that this is a bingeable read that many readers who love their popcorn reads will love. It's a bit of a no-brainer mystery in a way, and you can just kick back and enjoy the ride. But I was just looking for something with a little bit more to it in terms of its execution, a little bit more finesse, a little bit more subtlety and depth to it, if that makes sense. So I do think this has its reader audience. It just, I wasn't part of that reader audience, sadly. Now, if you've read this, I would love to hear your thoughts down below. If you decide to pick this up as a result of everything I've said, I really hope you enjoy it. It has a quirky cast of characters. It has multiple mysteries in it. It has action. It has stakes to it. But for me, like I said, the execution of it didn't work for me, but if you love just binge-worthy reads that you can eat popcorn while you read, this is one you might enjoy. So I would love to know whether or not you pick this up as a result of this video today, and I do hope you enjoy it as well. As for my current reading, I did start A Song for Arbonne by Guy Gavriel Kay. Now, this is my first delve into Guy Gavriel Kay. It came with a bunch of praise and recommendations from friends, and I'm only a few chapters in, but I'm struggling a little bit. And so I'm not forcing myself to just push through, because that is not how I enjoy my reading. But the first chapter, I didn't quite work for me. I didn't really enjoy it. The second chapter was better. It had a far more interesting set of characters that it follows. But I've found myself really reluctant to pick it back up again, just with the experience I've had so far. I know it's not that far into the book. I know there's so many more pages to read and things might change, but I also don't want to force myself into a reading slump, which is easy to do, especially when you run a Booktube channel, because a lot of your content depends on what you're reading. And so I don't want to put myself in a slump just for the sake of getting through a buddy read. So this is one of those reads where it is there, it is within sight, and I've tried to pick it back up multiple times, but if I'm not paying attention, if I'm just, really not enjoying what I'm reading, then I will put it back down. And so I opted to start a different book just to see, with T. Kingfisher being such a great experience so far and helping me with those kind of moments of not enjoying a book and not being in the mood for a specific book. I thought I would pick up another Tea Kingfisher, and that was A House with Good Bones. I've had to restart it twice, and I'm only 10% in. I think it's just a time where I did end up taking a week off of reading as a result of it, just to give myself a break, because sometimes we need a break. And I know I read a lot of books in a year. I try to read 52 books a year, at least one book a week. But I am quite behind on that this year, and that's okay. If you read one book a year, that is amazing. You read a book, that is amazing. But I've learned to give myself breaks where I need to. So I'm slowly picking reading back up, and who knows which one I'll be continuing with, whether it's A House with Good Bones or A Song for Arborn or something completely different. But I guess we'll have to wait and see until next reading update what ends up happening. Will I keep reading, or will I just find myself in a complete and utter reading slump? What is your reading like right now, though? Do you have any good slump busters that might help me out of this groove? Leave your comments below. I would love to hear from you. As always, thank you so much for watching, and take care of yourselves.